Hello and welcome to the first episode of this program whenever you're watching us from across the country. This is the program where we bring you the latest news in business, stock and also in corporate spheres. This is Business Tuesday and my name is Eddie Nyadwa. First, let's take a look at some of the business news that have made headlines. Central Bank of Kenya gets the green light to tender for new currency. Retail chain supermarket Tuskys takes over 2 Nakumatt outlet stores. Umia Sugar renew deal to sell electricity to Kenya Power. Welcome, and the program begins right now. The Central Bank of Kenya will now proceed to open bids for the tender of printing the new Kenyan currency following a High Court ruling. De La Rue had moved to court to challenge the central bank from inviting new firms to print the new currency, arguing that it had been unfairly locked out from the tendering process. However, Justice Chacha Mwita declined to issue conservatory orders to stop the tendering process.
We are just as prepared as we were before. Our objective is clear, our commitment is clear, and we will go step by step and issue the new generation currency, as it's called, fittingly after the, so sometime in the second half of next year, 2017.
Export Processing Zones, popularly known as EPZ, has failed to spur industrialization that was envisioned when the scheme was launched in the country. Government had projected that the scheme will absorb thousands of unemployed youth as well as boost the country's export base. However, some of the firms have closed shops after the tax holiday period elapsed and having siphoned all the profits. Export Processing Zones, popularly referred to as the EPZ, was floated as one of the key schemes that will have helped to tackle the high rate of unemployment in the country, boost growth of industries, as well as the country's export base. However, what the project has left behind is little to be desired. Some of the industries, after tax incentive period has ended, have closed shop after breaking even and made huge profits. On their defense, the EPZ firms blamed it on the high cost of production, attributing to high cost of energy and labor. As of today, more than 10 out of the 30 apparel firms that entered EPZ through the years have closed shop. One such firm is Upan Wasana EPZ Limited that closed early January, sending home more than 2,000 workers. With the country still enjoying trade agreements like Africa Growth Opportunities Act (AGOA) with the US, it is yet to be seen if it will attract other serious entrepreneurs to set up base in the country. In the first quarter of the 2017-2018 fiscal year, Kenya Revenue Authority fell short of 40 billion shillings in its revenue collection projections. This, the taxman attributes to the duty-free importation of maize, sugar and milk that cut in its custom duty collection. The National Treasury has now revised tax revenue projections, cutting it down by 60 billion shillings. KRA is now expected to collect 1.439 trillion from an initial expected 1.499 trillion Kenya shillings. After missing in its revenue collection target in the first quarter by 40 billion shillings, the National Treasury has now revised the target collection of the taxman. Kenya Revenue Authority is now to raise 1.439 trillion shillings to help finance the 2017-2018 national budget. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich has noted that the fall in the revenue was due to measures taken to curb inflation by allowing duty-free importation of some basic commodities including milk, maize and sugar. As part of austerity measures, KRA will improve tax valuations and shipment inspection while at the same time mining third-party data, which will be linked to bank accounts, Integrated Financial Management Information System IFMIS, and the Central Bank of Kenya. Those are some of the measures meant to ensure collection of revenue improves so as not to hinder the financing of the national budget, leading to more borrowing by the government, hence plunging the country into more debt. Central Bank of Kenya Governor Dr. Patrick Njoroge has warned that bitcoins could be a pyramid scheme meant to hoodwink the public. This warning comes after Safaricom ordered one of its clients known as Lipisha to survey links with BitPesa. BitPesa is among the companies that provided Bitcoin services. In his warning, Dr. Njoroge said that cryptocurrencies are using blockchain technology and are risky since consumers may not be protected.
Central Bank of Kenya has warned that the rising popularity of bitcoins may be a pyramid scheme that will leave Kenyans smarting from losses. CBK Governor Dr. Patrick Njoroge said cryptocurrencies are risky and consumers may not be protected. In 2015, the regulator issued a similar warning on digital currencies. CBK issued the warning after a Kenyan company, BitPesa, that offers the service came into the limelight when leading mobile service provider Safaricom ordered one of its clients, Lipisha, to cut links with BitPesa. The two firms have since sued the telco. Dr. Njoroge maintained in a quote, "We warned everybody that this was a risky venture and the consumer is not protected." The CBK governor further reiterated that these cryptocurrencies are using a technology known as blockchain. He said here may be a future for blockchain and they are working with their peers around the world on things that could lead to using this technology in particular ways. Finally, he maintained that Kenya needed to distinguish the product with technology, which may very well be a very good technology. That Bank for International Settlements, world central banks can't ignore the growth in cryptocurrencies and may at some point have to consider whether it makes sense for them to issue their own digital currencies.
JamboJet is set to commence flights to Tanzania and Uganda early next year as part of the airline's expansion strategies. In May, the airline was granted a regulatory approval to fly to 16 new routes, including Addis Ababa, Bujumbura, and Zanzibar. This development comes as the airline is also in the process of purchasing 2 additional airplanes by the end of the year to help it boost its revenue, especially during this festive season. The subsidiary of the national carrier Kenya Airways is in the course of expanding its routes. Beginning next year, February, JamboJet will be flying to 2 new routes in East Africa, that is, Tanzania and Uganda. Transport Ministry says it has applied for permission for the budget airline and is expecting to be granted the permit. Flights to the new international destinations comes at a time when the carrier is also expecting 2 aircrafts, Bombardier Q400, before Christmas. JamboJet is also planning in the near future to increase the number of flights within the country by also flying to other towns, including Wajir. Mumia Sugar Company will resume supplying electricity to Kenya Power after a 3-year interruption triggered by a dispute over the power purchase agreement. Mumia Sugar Chief Executive Officer National Seka says the two companies have revised their terms of engagement and scrapped off some of the punitive clauses. Mumia has a capacity to generate 36 megawatts. However, the company intends to sell between 10 to 15 megawatts to Kenya Power. And on that note, we take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Retail chain supermarket Tuskys has taken over Kisii and Kisumu shop space vacated by Trouble Nakumatt Holdings, growing its branch network to 64 branches across the country. Tuskys has revamped the combined space of 40,000 square feet at a cost of 240 million shillings. The retailer is also set to unveil the upgraded the Giri branch in Spring Valley, targeting premium market before the end of the year. Kenya Revenue Authority has issued 1 month notice to owners of vehicles that have not been cleared at the Kilindini Port of Mombasa to clear them or have them auctioned. The notice was published in the Kenya Gazette Notice on Friday by the Customs and Order Department, setting the auction date for January 17th next year. Kenya Revenue Authority is set to auction more than 150 vehicles that include largely Toyota, Nissan, Mitsubishi, DAF trucks, Mercedes-Benz, and Subaru models. The importers of the vehicles that are still lying uncleared at the Port of Mombasa now have 1 month to clear them. In a Kenya Gazette notice published last week, the Customs and Border Control Department gave importers of the 163 motor vehicles 1 month to clear the goods ahead of a public auction on January 17th next year. The notice reads in part, and I quote, "Notice is given that unless the mentioned goods under the custody of the customs warehouse keeper, Kilindini, are entered and removed within the next 30 days, they will be sold by public auction." End of quote. Kenya Auto Bazaar Association Secretary General Charles Munyoiri says 2017 has been a difficult year following the political environment that destabilized many businesses. Eddie Nyadwa for Business Tuesday. NIC Bank third quarter earnings of the year dropped by 1.3% to 33.3 billion shillings. The bank pre-tax also declined to 4.4 billion from 4.7 billion shillings over the same period last year. However, NIC managed to increase its investment in securities by 50% to 51 billion shillings, with customer deposits increasing by 21% to 131.4 billion shillings. Tonny Aghawo breaks down the numbers for us.
NIC Bank net earnings for the third quarter of the year slightly dipped by 1.3% to 3.3 billion shillings, as the total interest income fell by 8.4% to 13.5 billion shillings. Net interest income was down 14.5% to 8 billion shillings, as non-interest income grew 2.9% to 3.2 billion shillings. Loans and advances to customers grew by 7.3% to 118.6 billion shillings, while provision for the last loans declined by 32.9% to 2.1 billion shillings. Total interest expense was marginally by 2.3% to 5.5 billion. Total operating expense was up 2.8% to 6.8 billion shillings. Pre-tax profit declined by 7.3% to 4.4 billion shillings from 4.7 billion shillings in the same period last year. Earnings per share declined by 1.3% to 5.19% share. The bank increased its investment in securities by 50% to 51.8 billion shillings. Customers' deposits were up 21.3% to 131.4 billion shillings. Gross non-performing loans increased by 3.2% to 14.7 billion shillings.
In the banking sector, Barclays Bank of Kenya profits for the third quarter have dropped by 11.6% as the bank's net revenue dip stretched to 2 years. As of September, the net profits reduced to 5.3 billion shillings from 6 billion shillings. Barclays Managing Director Jeremy Awori has attributed the decline to macroeconomic and political environments that have been prevailing in the country. Despite the dip, however, Barclays Bank corporate loans brought in 15.9 billion shillings, an improvement from 15.5 billion over the same period last year.
Barclays Bank of Kenya saw third quarter profits dip by 11.6% as its net revenue dip stretched to 2 years. Net profits for the 9 months to September stood at 5.3 billion, down from 6 billion in a similar period last year. In 2016, the bank saw its profits dip 10% and fortunes still seem grim as the lender heads into the final quarter. Barclays books also took a beating from other interest income, which fell from 1.7 billion shillings to 27 million in 2016. The bank, however, weathered the storm of interest rate caps as retail and corporate loans brought in 15.9 billion shillings by September, up from 15.5 billion last year. The bank has reduced its lending to employees from 13.2 billion shillings to 12 billion shillings. Barclays, which shuts down 7 branches this year, saw its rental cost dip marginally by 29 million shillings. Property and equipment booked under assets fell from 3.2 billion to 2.9 billion shillings. The bank did well in managing its bad loans, which grew by 1.5 billion shillings, allowing it to reduce provisionally from 3.1 billion shillings to 2.3 billion shillings. The MD attributed this to concerted efforts to attain the highest level of underwriting standards as well as enhanced internal efficiencies on the collections and recoveries from fronts. Provisioning will, however, be a different ballgame next year when International Financial Reporting Standard 9 comes into force next year. This requires banks to recognize expected losses for a loan over its entire lifetime.
And some good news now is that milk processor Brookside Dairy scooped 3 awards during this year's Marketing Society of Kenya Gala Awards. The event, which was held in Nairobi, saw Brookside scoop the award for the best product launch, the best advertising campaign, and also led in the dairy category. Tonny Aghawo with the details.
Milk processor Brookside Dairy scooped 3 awards during the recent Marketing Society of Kenya Gala Awards in Nairobi. The dairy farm, the largest processor in the country, won in the Best Product Launch category for its Brookside Fruitness yogurt, while its Delamere variant won for the Best Advertising Campaign. It also led the pack in the dairy category. Brookside Marketing Director Oliver Mary said it was the first time a dairy company was in this category.
And now let's take a look at how the Kenyan currency fared against other currencies and also at the stock exchange. And on that note, we've come to the end of the program. Remember, you can catch us again next week on Tuesday at the same time, or you can visit our YouTube channel to watch this episode. My name is Eddie Nyadwa. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.